Yes, man, it really is me.
Who?
Mizzle, aka the Instant Burner, man. And today, guys, we're gonna be giving you guys the best controller settings on NBA 2K26. Because one of the most underrated things about this game is having the right settings. Before you get on the court, you need to have things the way that you want them, just so you don't end up selling when you do get on the court in NBA 2K26. But let's go ahead and get into it. If you don't know how to go to your settings, you press start, then you go all the way over to options. We're pretty much gonna break all these down and go to controller set. We're gonna break all these down just so you can make them the way that you guys like to make them. When it comes to shot timing, if you're playing online, it's really not gonna matter. You can have your shot timing on. It's gonna be on automatically anyway. Same thing with your layups. Your shot timing is gonna be on whether you put this on or off, because you have to time everything online. Free throw timing, you want to put that on. Visual cue, this is pretty much how you want your jump shot to be. If you're making custom jump shots, what you put right here does not matter at all. You know, if you want the quicker jump shots, you put on jump. You want a little quicker set point, then push, release. Me personally, I like all mine at release because I want to be able to time my jump shot. Whether I get a fast release or a slow release, I feel like you can time that better for me personally at release. But like I said, if you use custom jump shots, this does not matter at all. With your shot meter right here, how do you want to see your shot meter? Do you want to see your shot meter only when you're shooting jump shots? Do you only want to see your meter when you're using a pro stick? And if you don't know what pro stick is, it pretty much means just a fancy way of saying right stick. Every time you see pro stick, it means right stick. So which way do you want to see your meter? Me personally, I put this on all, even though I will tell you guys how to turn off your meter a little bit later when you're taking jump shots, which I have off. I just keep this on. The next thing is your pro stick function. This is pretty much, like I said, pro stick means right stick. So it pretty much means right stick function. So pretty much, what do you want to use your right stick for? But pretty much, do you want to have it on default? If you put it on default, that means you want to use your right stick to dribble and you want to use your right stick to shoot. If you don't want to do that, a lot of people I know, they use it only for dribble moves because they want to shoot with square. They don't want to accidentally hold it too long, because if you do hold your right stick too long, you will automatically shoot. So you have to have pretty much a good feel for using the right stick if you're going to dribble and shoot with it. And some people like to just shoot with the right stick. You know, me personally, I like to shoot. I like the rhythm shoot and dribble, so I just keep mine on default so I can do both of those. But that's pretty much a personal preference. The next thing is pretty much your right stick orientation. And with this thing, when you put right stick orientation, that means, do you want it on camera, relative, or absolute? Absolute pretty much means right is right and left is left. So for example, let's say you're dribbling the ball and you're on the right side of the court. If you have this on absolute and you do a crossover is with your right stick just automatically just over to the left. Just push it over to the left with absolute. If you have this on camera relative though, if you're on the right side of the court, let's say you're at the top of the right side of the court, the way that you do that same crossover that was automatically to the left is going to be a little different depending on where you are on the court. So if you're at a certain point on the right side of the court, it may be diagonal left to get that crossover, or it might be upwards left to get the crossover. Just depends on where you are on the court, pretty much camera relative. So for most people, it's just easier. Right is right, left is left. So if I was you guys, I would just keep this on absolute. The next thing is your passive dribble hand switches. You want to switch this to disable, because if you don't, pretty much what this means is when you're dribbling the ball and like you stand still or something like that, your ball handler will automatically switch the ball to the other hand. This can be confusing when you're trying to put together combos. So in my opinion, if I was you guys, I would just put this on disable so you never have to do that, so you can pretty much change your combos the way that you want to change your combos. So that's what I would do with that. The next one is your passing, pretty much skip passing. Do you want to enable the ability to skip pass? I don't know why you would not put this on enable. You should always have this on because you do want to skip pass when you can. Icon passing. This is one of those things. I keep mine. If I were you guys, I'll keep it on default or pass type control. Just depends on how you would want to do it. But if you don't know how to icon pass on this game, it's on PlayStation, it is R1. On Xbox, it's gonna be RB. So that's how you bring up your icons. Once you bring up the icons, you can pass to whoever you want to pass it to. With full receiver control, is when using icon passes, you can temporarily control the receiver to position him how you want before throwing the passes. This is more more so on my career and things like that if you're a big my career head. The next one is, like I said, that's why I would pick default or pass type control, is when using icon pass, you can double tap to bounce pass or hold it to lob pass. You know, so to do a regular icon pass, you would press, let's say I want to pass it to the 2 guard. You are R1, then press circle to do that. But if I wanted to bounce pass to him, you know what I'm saying, the defender's kind of lurking, I want to squeeze into a tight area, I would just tap circle twice, boom, boom, and it would bounce pass it, you know. Or if I wanted to do a little lob pass over the top of a defender, I would just hold circle and boom, you could pass it right over the defender, you know what I'm saying. So default or pass type, in my opinion, is the best ones. The next one is your pass target profile, and this is pretty much, you don't really have to mess with this, because if you mess with this, I mean, you could mess with it, to be honest. If you want to have a default, if you like to not use icons, I would suggest any of y'all watching this video that you always use icons, because you can definitely get the most out of passing on this game. Because it's going to be sometimes where you want to pass to a guy, and because you didn't icon pass it, 2K might make you pass it to somebody else that you didn't want to pass it to. And that can be the difference between somebody being open for an open shot or you getting the pass deflected or turn the ball over. So in my opinion, I will keep it on default. But if you want 2K to pick which one to make default settings for you, you can pick one of these two. Openness just means when you pass the pass button, 2K is going to dictate the most open guy and pass it to him. It's not the best setting, it's never been, but it's okay for you guys that don't like the icon pass. The next one is direction, and pretty much direction is with your right stick. Let's say I'm on the top of the court and I want to pass the ball to the guy on my right wing. If you icon or whatever with the R1 and you flick that stick to the right, you will pass it to that guy. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So you can use either one of these and it'll change, as you see right here, it'll change those. But like me, I just put it on default. Then what I do is, hold on, let me change this out. What I do, I go down here and change these. You don't have to mess with this if you're gonna change these right here. You know what I'm saying? So with me personally, I like to do more direction when I'm passing, because sometimes I like to touch pass. So I will press R1 and I will touch pass with that right stick to pass it to the right person. And I want that to be the biggest thing for me. So I like to 85 that one. The next one with me is always my open. So I like to switch this with the open. Let me actually put this down. I don't like this at all. I like that down. I don't like distance. Pass it to the furthest person. That's pretty much what that is. So I like to put that like that. And what I would do something like that, me personally, you know, just in case I can't really icon pass like I said. So that's me. That's what I like to do. With the pro stick pass type, this is pretty much when you're, like I said, when you're passing with the right stick, pro stick, do you want it to be a normal pass or a flashy pass? You want it to be a normal pass. You do a flashy pass, it can get turned over and it takes longer. So you want to just keep that on normal. Whole lob right here, it's pretty much, do you want to skip pass or do you want him to automatically cut to the basket? More of a my career type thing. I keep mine on skip pass. Auto lob receiver, you want to put this, you want to disable this, because what this will do when you have this on, it says choose whether to allow contextual lob passes to a moving receiver when pressing the primary pass button. So pretty much when you press the pass button, 2K is pretty much going to dictate when to lob the ball and when to throw a regular pass. You don't want 2K to dictate that. You want to be able to dictate all of that, like I showed y'all up here earlier, where you can, when you can hold the button to actually lob it. You want to dictate that. You don't want 2K to dictate that. So you want to put that on disable right here. On ball, this doesn't matter at all. You know what I'm saying? On ball offensive mode, you can put it on absolute camera realistic. It's damn near the same thing. Call for a pick and roll. This is pretty much for my career type things. Do you want to be able to control whether he pick and pop or if he rolls to the basket? Or you want him to slip the screen, all those types of things. So you pretty much want to keep that on manual. Receiver control, you pretty much, in my opinion, you either want to put this on receivers get open or you want to put this on full receiver control. One of the two, in my opinion. I like to put mine on this receiver get open. Another thing, this is one of those my career type things. Doesn't really matter too much. This is another my career thing. Help defense button control. Do you want to call for help or do you want them to automatically double team? Shade indicator, this is pretty much under your feet. Do you want to be able to see if you're shading to the left, to the right? Not a big thing either. Who to guard, you know, it just depends on, do you want to get pulled a certain way? You know, when you have who to guard on, you kind of get pulled towards whoever you're guarding. Me personally, I like those types of things because I like to be able to see who I'm guarding. If you ever want to switch who you're guarding, this goes for online mode, this goes for, you know, if you're playing My Career, you press R1. Right after you press R1, you pick who you want to guard. So if I'm the point guard and I want to guard the 2 guard, the 2 guard is circle. So what I would do, I would press R1, now I would press circle, and that will make me guard the 2 guard. You know, and you will switch with the computer, or you'll switch with your online friends or whoever you're playing with. So yeah, that is the best way to do it. Like I said, this is one of those things, this is personal preference in my opinion. And also, like, you see people switch on the inbounds, like if you're playing threes or something like that, bro, the way that they're able to switch on the inbound to guard somebody else is they still do it the same way. You R1, then boom, you press the icon. Pro stick defense, this is pretty much, you know, with the pro stick, with the right stick, you can reach, you know, and all that. And this is pretty much, I will keep this on absolute, because when you're reaching, you want it to be diagonal down. It just makes everything easier just to have this on absolute. Double team reaction, I would just keep this on auto. Icon swapping, you want to swap, you always want your swap controls only, you know what I'm saying? I wouldn't do a long press, because you can do the swap controls only, you can do the long press with this. So it just makes it easier for yourself. You just keep this on swap controls only. Your vibration doesn't really matter. Trigger effects, I would turn this off if you're on PlayStation, because the thing is, if you're dribbling or if you get tired, it's going to be harder to hold down your right trigger. So it's going to be harder, like, you know what I'm saying, you might not be able to hold it down, and then that's going to mess up your turbo when you don't want to turbo. It just makes a lot of mess in my opinion. So trigger effects, I always turn that off. The next one is a box out strength. As a guard, I'm putting this all the way up. You could play around with it as a big. I wouldn't see why you wouldn't always want to have this at least around 80 or something like that, even as a big. But me, I want to give myself the best chance as a guard, so I'm gonna keep this all the way up. Player icons, you know, you just keep this on, man. This is buttons to appear on the screen when you're icon passing. When you're pressing R1, do you want to see the icons of who you're pressing to? I don't know why you would want to have this on off. So I would just keep this on if I were you guys. So that's all with that. We're gonna go into the HUD now. Let's get into the HUD and actually show you guys how to turn off your meters and all of that. I know that can get annoying right there, so let me turn that off. But pretty much, we're gonna start first with the perfect release. This is pretty much what you want to see on your screen. Me personally, I like to see all shots, so I can see the other team. If they greened that, I can see the percentages, I can see everything. So I want to see all of that. So that's why I put mine on all shots. The next is pretty much what you want your green release to be. You know, you got a couple in here, as you see above the head. I just like to, you know, I'm the burner, so I like to burn up, so I just keep mine on flame. The next one is, where do you want your green release to be? You know, you can do it at the left side of the head, you can do it on the right side, you can do it above your head, you can do it by the rim, just a personal preference. Then your sound effects is pretty much which one you want. You know me, I'm the burner. When you hear that Hawk screaming, you know I'm greening, you know what I'm saying? So this is another one of those personal preferences. So we go with that. The next is your indicator. This is pretty much what you want under your feet. You know, you can pick any of these under your feet. I like to keep it simple. I just keep the circle. You can pick the color right here, whatever color you guys like. You can pick the size. I like medium. That's just personal preference. Nothing too crazy with that. This is pretty much shot meters. I remember I told y'all earlier, if you could turn your shot meter on or off, this is how you do it. You could turn your shot meter off right here. You know what I'm saying? I would advise having your layup timing on, just because you have to time all your layups this year to make them. So I would keep this right here on. Visible on the free throws, personal preference, you know what I'm saying? Then your graphic, you can pick whatever you want. Me personally, I just keep the arrow on. The color, I just keep the white, size large to the side. So that's pretty much that. Everything else is pretty much, it's not really, we can just go down here to your gameplay HUD. Visibility, do you want this on or off in the right of the screen? As you see right there, you see how it goes on and off. Do you want to see your stats? That's pretty much what that is. The panel, do you want it smaller, or do you want to see everything? That's all that is right there. So I keep that on. Takeover panel, do you want your takeover panel on? I love my takeover panel on. And do you want it where you want it? Do you want it on the right side of the court, the original? Do you want it in the middle? Do you want it on the left? All personal preference. Me, I put mine on right. And that's pretty much shot feedback too. I didn't talk about shot feedback. Shot feedback, I like to have mine on everything. If you just want the simple, where you can't see the contest or any of those type of things, you can just keep it on simple. But I like everything on, so I put mine on all shots. Then right here, you can just pick where you want to see everything. I like mine at the bottom by the score bug. You couldn't put it at the top if that's your thing. I like mine at the bottom. I like my distance on. I like my timing on. I like my free throw. I like all this on. Coverage is pretty much the percentage of the shot. I like to also keep this on also, and everything else is pretty much you don't really need. You know, this is just your icons and all that. Everything else is just basic, you know, gameplay HUD, notifications, ball trail. Do you want a ball trail? I don't know if we got, oh, we do got one ball trail. Orange. I would keep this off though, because over the last, I don't know about this year, but over the last couple of years, sometimes you drop frames when you shoot, when you have the trail on. So just for safe measures, I would keep this off if I were you guys, and just in case you just wanted to keep it on, you could, but I wouldn't do that. Your rebound indicator, this is pretty much if you want to green. Do you want to see if you green a rebound? You don't have to have it on. I mean, you're gonna green it, you're gonna green it. Yes, GOAT skills, you know, that's for your my career pretty much stuff. But that's pretty much all it is for you guys, man. If y'all made it all the way through the video, comment, spam up burner in the comment section. Please don't forget to also subscribe if you're new, like up the video. Y'all already know who it is. Burn up.